Good day and welcome to another A Week at the Plot, and in particular another Monday segment of A Week at the Plot. And it is a good day. It's a good day for doing something in particular, a job which is best done when the heavens are open, or at least when the ground is wet and the heavens are going to open. I wasn't losing my mind in watering those beds. What I have been doing is watering in a solution of nematodes. Now, nematodes are a type of eelworm, and they naturally live in the soil in pretty significant numbers. What I have been doing today is I have been watering in two types of nematodes. In fact, they're most probably the same type of nematode, but it's two different experiments. I've been watering in a solution of homemade nematode mix. Now, being a bit squeamish, I have not made this mix, but another plot holder has given me enough of this mix to do the plot that I'm sitting on here. At the same time, I have been given some commercial slug and snail deterrent nematodes, which I'm using on the top area, on the polytunnel area of the plot. So a little experiment between a homemade one, which if you're squeamish, you wouldn't really want to do, and a commercially bought one, which anyone can buy on Amazon and all of those other sites that you can get these things on. So nematodes, as I say, they're eelworms, and they basically burrow into slugs and snails, and they colonize that slug from the inside, basically eventually eating up and killing that slug. And in that process, they are themselves multiplying, and you can actually capture certain slugs and use them to make a homemade nematode mix. Now, coincidentally, I think Guru Mafinda, what's Guru Mafinda called now? What's his website called? I can't remember. But I think he last week uploaded a video about how to make your own homemade nematode mix. As I say, if you're squeamish, you will not want to do it. Basically, you get a whole load of slugs which will have nematodes in them, and you put them all together and you let them sort of die off and become a rather sludgy mix, and then that becomes your nematode mix, which you then dilute and use. If you don't want to do that, as I say, you can buy these nematodes online. I think Nemesis is the biggest company that actually, the biggest brand name that actually sells these. And they come in a powder form, and you mix them in a watering can and you dilute it down to the required dosage that it says on the packet. And then you water it onto your wet beds. Importantly, your beds need to be wet, because these nematodes, they live in moist conditions. So the moister it is in many ways when you put these on, the better, because the deeper they will go into the soil. So that's what I was doing. Whilst it was raining, I was watering the two mixes that I have onto our beds. And obviously the rain as it was coming down was helping that liquid go further into the soil than just my watering of the top of the soil was doing. We're going to have further rain today and tomorrow. So again, hopefully that will help these nematodes get further into our soil. But what I also did, because it's you know, it always happens this way when you're doing something. When I'd finished applying the two mixes on the different parts of our plot, the sun came out. So I was going backwards and forwards from the water butt, from our tap. I was filling up a watering can and making sure that that top of the soil was really wet. And then whilst I was doing that, another rain shower came in. So I haven't watered in the top by the polytunnel in the same way as I've done this bit of the plot, because I think it's all now going under. So yeah, we will see what happens. I do know that we've got quite a lot of slugs around. We saw the kiwi damage the other day, so the green shoots of the kiwi had been munched at, and I'm sure that was slugs or snails, or slugs and snails. And I've also seen some in our grass paths, and I know that's a reason that some people say, well, you shouldn't have grass paths because they harbour slugs and snails, which I know they do. But on a good year with standard UK weather, keeping the grass paths in check, like a certain Queen of the Gardens does, really benefits keeping down the slugs and snails. So I sort of need to get on top of that. Yesterday was too wet, as you know. I mean, it's been so wet. I think we're on course for the wettest May in a long time, or potentially even the wettest May on record. We've got another, 30 days in September, April, June, and November. Is that right? I don't know. We've got another 7 days left before the end of the month, I think. So we will see how it goes, but I think there's going to be more rain coming. In fact, as I look out now, I can see a black cloud coming over again. And certainly tomorrow, Tuesday, the forecast is for further rain. Today has been that mix that we've seen lately of really heavy downpours, followed by some respite, followed by some sun, followed by really heavy downpours. And in fact, today we've had hail. We've had at least 2 batches of hail. It didn't stay on the ground because the ground was so wet when the hail came down. It was a mix of hail and rain, so the hail melted pretty quickly. But it was clear that there was a lot of hail that came down, at least at 2 points. So there we are. How will our slug and snail retardant nematodes do? One a homemade concoction and one a commercial concoction. We will have to wait and see. I think the homemade one, the guy who's made it says that he normally does a preparation every 8 weeks. And I saw that on the packaging of the Nemesis nematodes, slug deterrents, and it said 6 weeks. So we will see how they do. And thank you very much to Patricia, who has given us those nematodes. She's going to give us 3 batches through this season. So it will be interesting how the season goes with those. And now it looks as though the sun is coming out again, but that cloud is over there. I've had quite a good day. I had major issues on the computer with our internet this morning, and I need to go back home and make a couple of calls to potential future projects that have come my way, so I need to make a couple of calls on those. But I also met up with the chair of the community gardens that I used to be chair of. We had a 2-hour chat today. In fact, we had lunch at the pub across the way at the Fox, and it was just really nice chatting to him, seeing what we can do together. We're looking at potentially buying an apple press between the 2 sites, but things like that, they need to be well maintained, well stored, well cleaned after they've been used. So we need to make sure that we've got 1 or 2 people who are going to take that on as their task for the benefit of the allotments and the community gardens. Very often you've got a number of people on sites who do a significant amount of work, and some who do a little work and some who do no work. That's the way of community managed sites. So what we want to make sure is that if we're bringing another service onto site like the apple press, that somebody else is going to maintain that, so that it's not just me and the other chair of the community gardens who are looking after that, because we have enough on our plates as it is. And I have to say, yesterday I said we had a really good working party on Sunday, and we really did. So much got done yesterday. I was really surprised. But yeah, and we were having torrential rain, you know, same weather yesterday as we had today. Anyway, look, you know what I'm doing. I'm going to say goodbye now, and I'm going to cross 2 sets of fingers for both sets of nematodes. And if I can find the link for how Guru Mafinda did them, I will put it in below, no, above. I think Terry King may have done that that homemade nematode mix as well. So throughout this segment, I'll put both of their links. Okay, I am going to go now, and I think I'm going to get home before it starts raining again. See you very soon. Bye. Good day. I've been strimming. Yay! I suppose it's satisfaction, isn't it? Everything looking that little bit tidier. And as I was saying the other day about the paths, when I was talking about the nematodes, you know, I love grass paths. I know they harbour slugs particularly, and also snails, but I love grass paths. And by keeping on top of them, we keep the propensity for slugs and snails to just multiply and have those grass paths as their home. We keep that down, which is really, really good. I've just done this area in front of me. I haven't done any of the area behind me. I'm not quite sure how much of that I will get done, because I brought a spare battery down. I already brought one down the other day, so I had one here, and I brought another battery down, and then when I brought it down and plugged it in, there's no charge in it. I'm not quite sure why, because I'm sure I charged it fully when I last used it. But anyway, I'm going to take it home over lunch and charge it up. And if I can get back down here this afternoon, if the rain keeps off, then I will carry on with the areas that I can't get into. One of the other things that I want to do is get on my hands and knees to do pulling of long grass, because the long grass, which is mainly up by the sheds up here and underneath the apple tree, there is a large number of froglets in there and frogs, and of course we don't want to go in there with a strimmer. And also, of course, before I strimmed the areas that you've seen me strim, I went in with my fingers to make sure that there was nothing in there. And in fact, I did find a frog, and it's over now by the comfrey. I moved it over there. So today is just going to be a pottering and a tidying day. I've still got a few hours that I need to do at my desk this afternoon. I've done a few hours this morning at my desk. So yeah, today is just, it's that time that you take to balance your mental health on the plot, if you see what I mean. And I'm not necessarily talking here about what I'm talking about rather is the neatness of the plot. I am happier when everything is neat, and then when not everything, because never on this plot are things always going to be neat. Maybe they're neat to me, but not neat to other people. What am I talking about? I'm waffling. What am I talking about? I'm talking about coming down here and not seeing overgrown grass, not seeing weeds on the onions and the garlic bed, not seeing little bits of bindweed coming out of the bed that we're going to put our brassicas into. Those are the things that I'm talking about when I say I'm doing the work today to get that balance of mental health right. Being able to just look as I can at the moment down this path and see that it's all neat and strimmed is really great. Another thing that is really great, and Vivi has one out already, I know, is these freesias. A few flowers are beginning to form, and in fact one flower may be beginning to open. And as I was looking at them this morning, I noticed something else too. Look at that. It's an iris. Look at that. Isn't that just beautiful? I thought all of our iris bulbs were blind, but no, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4 other iris coming up just in bud form at the moment. If I swing you round a bit and up, there's 3 there. Maybe you can just see the blue at the top here on this one. If I move that out the way, you can see the blue. Another one here, another one here, another one just further over here, which is lovely. And also what I noticed, this is our washing up bowl ponds area. One sunk in the ground, one still above ground. But look here, that is an iris in our below ground washing up bowl pond coming up to flower. Isn't that just fabulous? Nature is extraordinary. And actually, if we just look up here, we can see how else nature is extraordinary. Look at that rhubarb. Wow. It must be 5.5 foot high. Just fabulous. This is one that we just leave go to flower each year. It's quite glorious. Fabulous to have a few unexpected flowers coming on the plot, which is lovely. I'm really glad that I did that strimming just now because it started spotting with rain. I did actually manage to get quite a bit of the, in fact, all of the growing area on the top side of the plot. I managed to get that strimmed. So between all the beds, etc. So it's now the sort of more wildlife areas that I need to look at, move the bench, do some strimming there. But I hope to be able to get on and do that tomorrow, maybe, and get on and do some weeding this afternoon, particularly of the onion and the garlic beds. I don't know. That rain. I mean, let's face it. The rain, the weeds don't seem to mind not having as much sun. The plants want the sun and want the warmth to be able to really get growing. Maybe not the peas and the garlic, but the weeds don't seem to care whether it's grey or whether it's overcast or whether it's raining. They just seem to go, yay! So yeah, I need to get on my hands and knees and sort those out, hopefully this afternoon. I've just had a call from a prospective client, so I'm going to go back home to my desk now and have a conversation with that person. So it might actually be, will I get back here this afternoon? I'm not sure. If I do, I'll show you what I've done tomorrow, and I'll just leave it here for today. Bit of strimming, bit of raking, and bit of waffling. Bye. Good day. Our neighbours had this, what is it? Crate. That's what it is. Our neighbours had this crate outside their house. A few weeks ago, I said, I think that would be useful at the allotment. And we've just brought it down today. What I didn't realise was quite how heavy it is. Richard helped me carry it down, and we had to stop quite a few times on the way down here. And then, as you can see, I got this trolley that we have here to bring it from the gate to the plot. The wonderful thing about it is, because it's so heavy, I now know it's not actually softwood, it's hardwood. I think there must have been tiles or something in this, but it's hardwood, not softwood. And instead of using it as a frame for something, I'm now thinking of utilising the wood in some way or other, potentially to mend our benches and our bench and our blue chairs. But that is going to have to wait for another day, because today I'm getting on with something else. Today I'm getting on with this bed. It was our Portuguese cabbage bed last year. Oh, I've just seen an artichoke. Oh, how quickly I get distracted. I don't mean I've seen an artichoke plant, of course. We know where the artichoke plant is. I can actually see an artichoke. Anyway, I'll get a photo of it and slot it in here when we're when this gets uploaded to YouTube. Come on, Paul, get back on track. What I've decided is that this bed is actually going to be a soft fruit bed as well. As you can see, we've got raspberries in those tubs. We've also got a couple of joster berries in those tubs. And what I'm going to do is dig this plot over now, or fork it over rather, not dig it over. I'm going to fork it over now and go through a similar process to what we went through with the bigger soft fruit bed that has the blackcurrant and the gooseberries in it. So I'm going to fork this bed to a fork's depth. That's a big fork rather than a hand fork. Give it a really good weeding. I know we have some couch grass in here, so I want to get that out. And then I'm going to add soil improver. And then after that, I'm going to just plant these up in exactly the same way as we planted the gooseberries and the blackcurrant up a few months ago in the other soft fruit bed. We've got, as I say, raspberries and josterberries here. The josterberries will go closer to me. The raspberries will go on the far side of this bed. Most of our raspberries are autumn fruiting raspberries, though I was given 4 canes of summer fruiting raspberries a few weeks ago, so they will be going in too. But once I've done this, I'll show you what it looks like. But as I say, I will put a link in here for the other soft fruit bed that we did several months ago. 2 and a bit hours later, and this job is done. So I forked it over, as I said, to a 4 and a bit's depth. There wasn't actually too much couch grass in there. I was quite surprised. But I have been turning this soil with a hand fork quite a lot, so I think I've been doing quite well when I have done that. So at the front here, we've got 4 josterberries. Then this line of canes here is summer fruiting raspberries, and at the back is a block of 12 autumn fruiting raspberries. As you know, I'm always a bit tight with my space. They've all had a really good water, and they will have another really good water when I'm back later on today, because they need it. Of course, we've had absolutely deluges of water over the past couple of weeks, and now we've had a few dry days. We're going, oh, we need to water things. Isn't that always the way? I found I had 2 bags of mulch left over, which I didn't realize, so that's fabulous. So I put that mulch there to remind me to mulch this bed. And what I will do, because I've used all of our cardboard now, is search out some more cardboard, and I'll put cardboard down on top of this soil in a couple of weeks. Once the plants have had an opportunity to get going and are looking stronger, I'll put cardboard down and I'll put that mulch on top, and then that can act as a weed suppressant. I did put a little bit of soil improver that we had on here, and I also put some multi-purpose compost that we had left over, 2 half bags. So that is that job done. Oh, actually, not quite. I'm going to cut these canes back. I'm going to leave 2 green shooting side shoots, rather, 2 green shooting areas, and then I'm going to cut the rest off. Because, yeah, in fact, let's just pop into the shed. So having transplanted those, well, all of them, but in particular the summer fruiting raspberries, which are wanting to go to fruit quite quickly, what I'm doing is I'm going to cut them down to 2 bits of green growth from the base. The reason I'm doing that is because I want those plants to really settle into their new growing space, and for the roots to really settle into that growing space. And if it's trying to fruit too much above, it's not going to settle in as quickly as I want. The autumn fruiting will be fine, and the josterberries will be fine. They're really strong plants, so those will actually be fine. However, is this a good time to be doing the job I've just done? No, it's not. Ideally, I would have done this certainly before, well, in March or before March, when the fruit bushes are still dormant. However, if you've watched me before, I believe that there's 3 good times to do things. Well, 2 good times to do things, really. The first is when it's good for the plant. The second is when it's good for you. And the closer you can get those 2 times, the better all round. So ideally, I'd have done this by March. I hadn't even made the decision to put that as a fruit bed in March. So I was going to use it for something else. And I needed it done now. I wanted to get it done today. As soon as I thought, actually, I want that to be a soft fruit bed, I wanted to get on and do it. Better to do it now at the end of May than in the middle of July. You know, much better to do it at the end of May than the middle of July. Much, much better to have done it in February. But that wasn't where I was in February, and I'm not going to beat myself up about it. So is this the ideal time to do the job I've just done? No. Was it the right time for me to do this job? Yes. There we are. I'm going to leave it there now. I think I will be back later to do some weeding, because I do need to do weeding. So if I do see you, I won't see you later, but I might do a bit later for showing you another day. Or I'll just show you what I have done another day. That's most probably the easiest, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I'll see you very soon. Bye. Gosh, it is so sunny today. It really is. It's lovely. It's lovely. Bye. Good day. I'm in the shed because it's so sunny out there that I need to put my glasses on. It's Saturday. It's 1 o'clock. Yeah, no, it's 2 o'clock. Gosh, how's it 2 o'clock already? I don't know. It's 2 o'clock. I've just got down here, and as some of you will know, we had a fabulous day with Vivi yesterday. So Richard and I went over and we spent much of the afternoon in her fabulous garden, just sitting, chatting, laughing, doing a little bit of watering, and yeah, just had a fabulous time. What was also fabulous is that Vivi has given us a whole host of plants. Celery, I'll come on to that another day. Rose de Bern tomatoes, which I'm really excited about. A brassica, and also various different squashes, squash plants, which is fabulous. There was a point where I thought we weren't going to have any squash plants, but it's great to have these that Vivi has shared with us. And you know what? It's incredibly generous of Vivi to do this, because she really does live the frugal life. I mean, you know, I know a lot of other people say that they do and don't. But Vivi grows, you know, all of her plants from seeds or from cuttings. Some things she gets gifted, of course, you know, we do as well. But 99.9% of what she has in her garden is grown from seed. And, you know, to be living a frugal life like she is, and being so generous in gifting us these plants, I mean, you know, that's true friendship, isn't it? It really is true friendship. So one thing that I noticed today is that Felicity or Brush had been jumping on the netting again. So I decided to just sort of level it out a little bit, not level, but pull it taut. As I was doing that, guess what I saw? Look. We have germination with some of our carrots. And in fact, there's germination in every row of the carrots that we have sown. It's pretty sporadic at the moment, but it's clearly time to get that netting that is lying on these off. so that it doesn't deter their growth. So what I am going to do now, which I didn't expect to be doing today, is I'm going to actually net up this bed properly, again to keep Felicity and Brush off it. Fingers crossed. I have lifted off the netting that was lying on top of the seedlings, on top of the compost here, and put sticks in, as you can see, with plastic bottles upturned, in most cases on the sticks, and also importantly in the middle to support the central netting as well. And then I've used tent pegs at the ends to ensure that the netting at the ends is firmed into the soil or onto the soil. And then I've just tucked the fabric underneath these bottles. And now I'm going to give it a really good water. What I did notice is that our carrots, which are sort of up to about here, they have germinated, but our 3 rows of tender and true parsnips have not germinated. When we were at Vivi yesterday, her parsnips, which are again tender and true, had germinated. That's now had 1 water, and I'm going to give it another couple of watering cans of water through the afternoon. But now I'm going to get on with another job. This is the bed that we had some Portuguese cabbage in over winter. I'm now going to have this as our courgette bed. So our courgettes, which are golden yellow and orela, are going to be going into this bed. These are our courgettes. As you can see, they're developing quite nicely. These are the golden yellow. These are the aurelia. And I'm going to plant 3 of each and leave this one here as a spare in case any get eaten. So what I'll mostly do, in fact I will do, is I'll pot this into a bigger pot. But I'm just going to dig a hole. Well, I'm going to use my hand fork to fork in some additional compost, vegetable compost that I've got, and do it in a little mound, and then I'm going to plant each of the courgette plants into that mound. So we'll end up with 6 courgette plants in our courgette bed, each planted into its own individual mound of compost. Thought we'd just have a quick look at the root system. You can see on both, this is the aurelia, this is the golden yellow, both pretty good. So happy with those plugs. Obviously we grew these from seed, and you've still got time to sow seed now, just about, to get a decent harvest. Courgettes in warm weather can grow really quickly, but they need a lot of water and they do like feeding. I've forked in fresh compost in the area that I'm going to be planting the courgette plants, and I've sort of done a little collar. So this is most probably about 2 inches proud. I've done a little collar around the edge. I'm going to plant the courgette plant into this hollow, and then when I water, the water will puddle around at the beginning. We will most probably put in upturned bottles in a week or so's time because then we can water into the end of the bottle, upturned bottle, and it will penetrate down to the roots, which is where courgettes need their moisture. So a little collar and the plant has been firmed in well. Now to get on with the others. Just a quick look at the plants Vivi gave. I think this is a perennial kale, Taunton Dean, sweet dumpling squash at the end here, celery, rose de bain, tomatoes, fabulous, black fatsu squash here, some more celery at the back. So thank you so much, Vivi, for those. Incredibly generous. Incredibly generous. I'm so pleased to have got those courgettes in. I'm going to give them another water before I go home. I'll also give the carrots and the parsnips a third water before I go home. But I'm so pleased to have seen some germination in the carrots, in all the 3 types of carrots, across all the 7 rows of carrots, we have germination. How thick that germination will be, you know, time will tell. I think we'll have continuing germination in the carrots for about the next 10 days, and the parsnips should be up within another 10 days too. So let's hope. It's been warm today. It's been very warm down here, and things do, the surface, ice cream van. Oh, ice cream van. The surface does look quite dry, but if you just scruff the surface a little bit and put your finger down, it's quite moist about an inch or so down. But what I am going to do, there's certain things that I am going to be watering today. I'm going to give the plants that Vivi gave us a water. I'm going to be giving our calendula and our pot things a water. Our asparagus, I will give a water. But importantly, the fruit bed that I planted up the other day, was that 2 days ago? And the and things that have gone in recently will all need a water, because they're still getting used to that soil that they have been planted into. Yeah, so yeah, the fruit bed. And is there anything else? There's a few things I've potted on that you may not have seen. Oh, the wasp. There's a few things that I potted on that you may not have seen, so I'll be giving those a water. But yeah, we just need to keep an eye. Just because the surface looks dry, it doesn't mean that it's not moist down below. So do bear that in mind. When you are sowing something or you are planting it out for the first time, do give it a really thorough water, particularly in the UK over the coming week or so, because it does look as though it's going to be hot and pretty dry for a week or so. Right, I will leave it there and we'll see what happens tomorrow. What type of day will it be? A tomato day or a bean day? I'm not sure. Tomorrow. We'll know that tomorrow. See you then. Bye. Good day. Here we have our Brussels sprouts that are really keen to get in the ground. They're about 10 inches tall at the moment. You see this one at the front here. We're going to be burying them a bit deeper than they currently are. So I'll most probably be coming up about 3 inches here and burying them up to about this level. Brassicas quite like being buried a little deeper than they have grown, and they will need really good firming in. So I'll be doing similar to how we did with courgettes yesterday. I won't be using a collar, and I know that the ground is pretty good at the moment anyway. So we're just going to be digging a hole with a fork 3 inches deeper than these currently are, and then putting the soil back on top and really firming them in. Brassicas really like to be firmed in, so get your knuckles in there and really firm them in. Let's go over to where they're going to be going. I had already decided that brassicas would follow on these onions and garlic. More on the onions and garlic another day because they're going to be coming out quite soon. But as I was looking at this bed the other day and looking at the fact that we're using a couple of other beds at the moment for other things, I was wondering where are we going to put some of our other brassicas, because these two beds are not big enough for all the brassicas that we like to grow. And then I realized a couple of months ago I had thought about putting our Brussels sprouts down the center of these two beds, down the length center of these two beds. And that's what I'm going to do today. The ground is pretty good. It's had quite a lot of compost on and is pretty decent now. So I'm going to be planting those Brussels sprouts as a single line down the center of this bed. I will be netting them with, well, partly with a tunnel that I've got and partly with that fleece that you can see at the end, that white blob of fleece. And then I'm going to plant squash on either side of the Brussels sprouts. The Brussels sprouts will be growing tall, so they're not going to interfere with the growth of the squash. And the Brussels sprouts have pretty strong stems by the time the squash are really going for it in a couple of months' time. So those stems are not going to be harmed by the bristliness of squash stems. Or stalks, vines, don't they? Because squash have vines. Right, I'm going to get on. So I'm going to plant down the center of these two beds, the long center of these two beds, are 9 Brussels sprouts. And as I say, they're really going to be healed well in and planted about 3 inches deeper than they currently sit in their modules. I just thought we'd have a quick look at the root systems. As you can see, these are pretty strong. And as I say, I'm going to be burying this one up to about here. I'm actually going to take that off. So I don't want that to rot in the ground, and bury it up to about here. As you can see, I've put a line down the center of the bed, which I'm going to follow as I plant these up. And I've spaced out the Brussels sprouts just over a foot apart, maybe 14-15 inches apart. And right at the end, you can see 3 smaller plants. Those are 3 cauliflower that I was given. So I've got 5. I'm not going to squeeze 5 into here. I'm just going to squeeze 3. And I'll have to find another place for another 2. Oh, I know where I'm putting the other 2. Right, now I'm going to plant these up, as I say yet again, burying them a little bit deeper, up to about 3 inches with these, because they're a foot tall, 10 inches to a foot tall. Burying them a little bit deeper, 3 inches in this case, not with the cauliflower, deeper than they were in the modules. That is this job done. I have netted it. I did intend to show you it before I netted it, but I was chatting to two fellow plot holders, so I got carried away with myself and just netted it up as I carried on talking. I did find another netting tunnel, so I haven't used the fleece. I've used a different netting tunnel. It's not a netting tunnel that is a favourite of mine, but you know what? I've got it and I like it. The reason it's not a favourite is the fabric is quite flimsy. I think they're both plastic, but this one is much more rugged than the one that I've used at the back. But as I say, I've got it, so I'm using it. Each of these plants has had a really good watering in, and I'll be back later on as well and give them another water through the netting. But this netting should see them okay for certainly, I would have thought, the next month. Hopefully they'll take well and grow, and this netting will keep the cabbage white butterfly off. Right, we will leave it there, and I will see you very soon if you're on Planet Vegetaria, and I'll see you next week if you're watching this on YouTube. Whatever you're doing, have a good week. Bye.